From a decadent cake shake to fried plantains, handmade cinnamon rolls to a mountainous corned beef sandwich, we traveled to Chicago and its suburbs to share some of the iconic stories behind its dishes. Our first stop is in downtown Chicago underneath the bustling Michigan Avenue. This 85-year-old restaurant is no secret to politicians, celebrities, and journalists. But its rich history and cheeseburgers are what have solidified Billy Goat Tavern as a culinary landmark. Step inside Billy Goat Tavern, and you're instantly overwhelmed with its history. The underground shop is covered in a collage of news clips, pictures of celebrities and politicians, and of course, notes of high praise for its legendary cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger, cheeseburger, cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger, cheeseburger, double is the best.
Billy Goat's burger is sandwiched in between two halves of a Kaiser roll bun. In between the bun is a juicy, thin slab of fresh, all-natural beef and 2 slices of cheddar cheese.
We get deliveries of burgers every day, so we make them fresh every day.
That's second-generation owner, Billy Cyanis.
And then we get fresh bread every day, Kaiser roll. We toast this on a grill. So we just wait, till they start to sweat, basically. Then you flip them. It's gonna be a nice sear and that gives it the flavor. We put cheese on there, and these are the doubles, and you can make triples as well. But this is why we do the thinner patty, because you could do different sized burgers.
To make for a more mouth-watering experience, Billy always recommends getting a double cheeseburger. Customers can choose whether to pile their burger with pickles, onions, or other toppings. But don't expect any lettuce or tomato.
Well, we say the goat ate all those, the lettuce and tomatoes, so we don't have any of them.
Bread is really good. The pickles, relish on there. I like that you can throw your own toppings on there. Really good.
It's very delicious. The meat is fresh.
Billy says the meat of a Billy Goat burger is made from a clod and chuck blend, which comes from the shoulder area of a cow. Billy's father and his great-uncle didn't want any filler meat and wanted to sell just pure beef. And the reason they kept their patties thin?
And it was because we wanted to sear it, but also be juicy inside. You do that when you cook it fast. Also, you could stack it. Using a leaner ratio, it cooked better and it stayed the same size. It didn't shrink too much. So that was the ratio that they liked, and we've been using that ever since.
But selling quality cheeseburgers isn't the only reason this tavern became a Chicago institution. The original Billy Goat Tavern was born in 1934, across from the Chicago Stadium, now known as the United Center, when William purchased the Lincoln Tavern for only $205.
After a few months of being open, a goat fell off a truck and landed in front of the door and brought it in as the customers came in, and he saw that the reaction of the people, they liked it. And so he decided to keep it, and he used that as a mascot.
From then on, William was known as Billy Goat. He adopted the goat, grew a goatee, changed the name of the bar to Billy Goat Tavern, and made the goat part of his business.
He started taking the goat to different events. Across the street was the Chicago Stadium, so he used to take it to political events, sporting events. He used to hide the goat in like a suitcase or something.
Billy Goat's stunts continued to grant him local fame, and in 1964, he moved his tavern to where it is today, underground, right in the middle of the city. The tavern has since expanded to 8 locations across Chicago.
So delicious, and it's cheap.
Cheeseburger, cheeseburger, cheeseburger. No fries, chips, no Pepsi Coke. Cheeseburger, 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 no fries, chips, no Pepsi Coke.
That's Sam Cyanis, nephew of Billy Goat Cyanis, who's still yelling out their iconic catchphrase.
Cheeseburger, 1 Pepsi, 1 chip. Cheeseburger, Pepsi, chip.
Back in the 60s, my dad and other cooks were mostly Greek. Some of them came straight from Greece. They didn't know a lot of English. So what they first learned was what was on the menu. So when a customer comes in and they place the order, they yell out the order. So what do you have? Cheeseburger next, cheeseburger next, cheeseburger, cheeseburger. And it sounded like you were getting yelled at, but they were just telling you what was on the menu.
Billy Goat's catchphrase became so well loved by its customers that Saturday Night Live writer and Billy Goat regular Don Novello turned it into a popular sketch on the show's 3rd season.
Cheeseburger, 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 4 Pepsi, 2 chip.
From then on, Billy Goat gained national fame and even received high praise from food icon Julia Child.
Very good.
It's an institution in Chicago. It's a great place to be.
This place feels like home, so it's not anything like different, but I appreciate that people recognize the place and they come here to eat and have a good time.
Steps away from Billy Goat on Michigan Avenue is a popcorn shop by the name of Garrett Popcorn. Its crispy, airy popcorn has made it a required stopping point for hungry locals and visitors.
It's really buttery and cheesy and good. Maybe not the healthiest, but it's really good.
People who come to Chicago look for Garrett's and know Garrett.
I bought Garrett's for everybody!
We're on Michigan Avenue, just steps away from Millennium Park, and we're about to head to Garrett's Popcorn, which has been serving some of the best handcrafted popcorn in the city since 1949. And if you wait long enough, you'll see lines snake out of their stores. So why the long lines, and what makes this popcorn taste so good? Garrett is known for the iconic mix of two of its specialty flavors, cheese corn and caramel crisp. Garrett handcrafts its popcorn in small batches throughout the day. It serves its popcorn fresh to customers and can make anywhere from 30 to 150 batches a day, depending on customer demand. And my arm is now getting tired.
If you like popcorn, you should probably try it. If you don't like popcorn, you probably should try it. It's delicious.
It was actually customers like these who invented Garrett's world-famous popcorn combo. Officially called the Garrett Mix, but locally known as the Chicago Mix, fans of Garrett Popcorn in the 1970s used to come into the shop and buy 1 bag of caramel crisp, 1 bag of cheese corn, and 1 empty bag.
And then we saw that they were mixing the two recipes together. And then once we saw that there was a high demand for that, we decided to actually add that to our menu. We noticed it had that sweet and savory combination, and it was an unparalleled experience from there.
Other shops have their own version of the mix, but Garrett remains the fan favorite. Since 1949, Garrett's popcorn has been made in old-fashioned copper kettles and follows a secret family recipe that has been handed down over 3 generations.
We stick to the same process of using our copper kettles and making small batches daily.
This is definitely one of the landmark Chicago staples of food that you have to try if you're in town. There's usually a line out the door.
The popcorn starts off with a hybrid of butterfly and mushroom kernels, which are grown just for the company. The kernels are then air-popped, which means no oil is necessary. Once air-popped, the kernels are set aside while the caramel heats to an optimal temperature. There are a total of 7 ingredients in the caramel crisp flavor. Garrett Popcorn wouldn't tell us all of them, but it did say 2 were water and caramel, while the other 5 can be found in most pantries and refrigerators. The smell of the caramel is overwhelming and it's beautiful, and it's taking all my willpower not to just grab a piece of that caramel crisp. I'm really surprised that none of the popcorn itself is being crushed by the weight of the caramel. That's because the caramel crisp begins with butterfly kernels. And butterfly kernels, as the name denotes, have wings on them. So when mixed in with the caramel, the larger surface area on each and every kernel allows for more caramel to be glazed on top without crushing it. Next, the vat of coated popcorn is poured onto a cooling tray. Oh my god, it smells so good. And we're doing this not to make it clump, right? Am I doing a good job? Good. I was booted out. So Eric here stepped in because we only have a small window until the caramel crisp cools off, and we needed to separate it enough so that when it cooled off, there was no clumps. And we have to do this so lightly so that we don't crush the popcorn. Next comes the cheese corn. It's made with mushroom kernels that are round and fluffy. After popping, they're smothered with a mouth-watering cheddar cheese sauce. But beware, Garrett's cheese corn has a reputation for staining your fingers.
A lot of viewers noticed something during Kelsey's interview. Here's a still from the interview. He was eating the cheese popcorn with his hand, and it got all over his hand when he came out.
For the cheese corn, we're using real cheese, and you can spot another, fellow Chicagoan with the cheesy fingers when you're walking down the street.
So I've never tried this before because I tend to be a person who doesn't like to mix her sweet and savory, but This is me trying out the caramel crisp and the cheese corn together. That's surprisingly good. It's really good. I never think to mix a salty snack with my sweet, but this makes it like you can do both and you can enjoy it. And what I noticed is that there's a lot more flavor in this popcorn than movie theater popcorn. With movie theater popcorn, I feel like I just have to keep dumping the butter onto it to get some semblance of flavor. But with this, with one bite, I can feel it exploding in my mouth, which is pretty good.
It's very addicting.
But how did this iconic Chicago popcorn chain get its start?
So Garrett Popcorn originated in 1949. It was Gladys Garrett, her family, they sat around a table, they had a contest to come up with the best caramel crisp recipe.
Then, the Garrett family opened up their first shop on 10 West Madison. Soon enough, they had opened up 8 additional shops all around Chicago. And before they knew it, they were everywhere.
You love
Garrett's This is all I need, right here. I don't need a husband, I just need my Garrett's popcorn.
Have you been to Garrett's? Have you had Garrett's popcorn?
Yes,
it's my favorite.
Oh man, you and my wife.
In 2002, Oprah Winfrey helped launch the Garrett Mix to international fame when she named it as one of her favorite things.
I bought Garrett's for everybody!
The afternoon of the broadcast, Garrett had over 100,000 web hits, and its sales volume for the month increased by over 100%. Now, competing brands all over the world sell the sweet and savory Chicago-style popcorn, and Garrett has expanded to locations all around the world. And its iconic tin has been featured on TV shows like Glee, Modern Family, How I Met Your Mother, Insecure, and Shameless. But with all the fame and celebrity hype, it still remains humble and meaningful to the local Chicago community.
For many of our fans, they've grown up coming into our lines and getting Garrett. So for them, this is part of their experience, it's part of their memories, it's part of their childhood and their tradition as well.
From the crowded city to the more communal Lakeview neighborhood, you can find handmade cinnamon rolls at Sather's. It's the buttery dough and sweet vanilla glaze that have had Chicagoans hooked since the 1940s.
Best thing in the menu's gotta be the cinnamon rolls. The best ever.
These are absolutely excellent. These are delicious.
Sather sells a bevy of breakfast items, but people in Chicago have been coming here for the cinnamon rolls since 1945. But with the rise of bakery giants, how has this mom and pop shop stood the test of time? Let's go inside and find out. Step into Sather's and you instantly feel at home, surrounded by families, friends, and boatloads of comfort food.
Just right out of the oven? Oh, you had some already. You've already got it. Oh, good, good.
The colorful diner is filled with traditional Scandinavian art, and of course, the scent of its delectable cinnamon rolls.
How can no one not have an Sather cinnamon roll unless they're from out of town?
That's Tom Tunney, a Chicago native and current owner of Sather Restaurants. Featured on Rachel Ray and Food Network, Sather's gooey made-from-scratch creations are served hot from the oven and drizzled with frosting that oozes onto customers' plates. On average, the team at Sather prepares about 60 cinnamon rolls per tray and sells about 100 trays daily. That's 6,000 cinnamon rolls a day.
And you know what? I still eat them. Okay, so you say, oh, you must be sick of them. And I'm like, no. As they come out of that oven, there's nothing better. Well, I'll go for a period and not eat them, and then all of a sudden I'll have 4 in a day.
And there's a special ingredient behind the much-loved cinnamon rolls. Tom found out the secret recipe when he took over the restaurant from its namesake, Sather. In 1981, Sather, the restaurant's founder, was looking for a successor who would continue serving homemade Swedish and Scandinavian recipes to the Lakeview community. At the time, Tom was a 24-year-old looking to own his own restaurant. The two hit it off and sold the restaurant to Tom, and now Tom carries on her legacy. For the last 35 years, Tom has kept his promise, learning every aspect of the trade, from cooking to cleaning tables to serving, all while letting Anne's spirit prevail by maintaining good food, good friends, and good conversation.
Anne's was this oasis, they used to call it. It was a place where families could come, where you bring your children, and with the expansion of our restaurant into different parts of the city, it has really become a household name in the city of Chicago. The cinnamon roll is a 75-year tradition of Ann Sather's. It's when we incorporated the cinnamon roll into the breakfast menu that it took off on wildfire.
According to Tom, the recipe behind the belly-warming Chicago breakfast staple took years to perfect.
The base of the cinnamon roll is a yeast product. So what we have to do is we have a dry mix that's made specifically for us that I cannot tell you the ingredients.
No, not at all?
No. It's a very complex little formula that's been in the Ann Sather family for probably 30 or 40 years.
The pillowy, soft rolls actually start off as that special dry mix, which is combined with lukewarm water and yeast.
Yeast product needs to rise, and fall, and then it rolls out into this product, which is what makes it gooey and delicious.
And so the ingredients that you can tell us?
Well, it's mostly flour, and it has wheat flour, it has soda. Actually, if you look in our Ann Sather cookbook,
yeah,
they'll have the ingredients.
All ingredients. So you can make your cinnamon rolls at home.
I left one out just for the heck of it. So this is ready to put into the pot. What will happen is, given the right amount of time and patience, this is going to double in size. So I'm flattening the dough, yes, and I am going to spread it so that I can put these great ingredients in it. Try to even it out because you want your cinnamon roll to be, to look like it's uniform. First step is the margarine, soft margarine. Obviously, you don't want to put too much because then it'll get too sloppy as far as I'm concerned. All right, next step is the cinnamon, pure cinnamon. Next is the mix of brown sugar and cinnamon, maybe a little bit of white sugar should be in there too.
So why did you add more cinnamon again?
Because the customers said, they asked us, they said, it's a cinnamon roll, we don't taste the cinnamon. The best thing to do in our business is listen to the customer. Especially when around the country in the 80s, there was many cinnamon roll bakeries. Just bakeries for that, including an Ann Sather bakery concept of our own.
In fact, in the 1980s, cinnamon roll shops began opening up across the country. Bakery giants like Cinnabon and TJ Cinnamons got their start in 1985. And in Chicago alone, there were already a dozen specialty cinnamon roll shops. But even with all that competition, Ann Sather's cinnamon rolls not only survived, but thrived.
The best thing you could ever eat when you roll right out of bed is a cinnamon roll from Ann Sather's in Chicago.
The cinnamon inside there, I don't know what they do to it, but it just is absolutely amazing. It has to be a secret recipe.
To achieve the layers of cinnamon, Tom and his team rolled the dough in a diagonal direction.
Obviously, it's called a cinnamon roll for a reason, okay? And we want to make sure that we have somewhat of a uniform width here.
The addition of brown sugar and butter to the mix allows the pastry bun to become gooey and sticky after it's heated in the oven.
We're arranging them to be ready to be baked off. Try to space them out because they're going to rise. This is a perfect cinnamon roll in the sense that there's enough rolls in the cinnamon roll, no pun intended.
Once in the oven, the rolls bake at 350 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes.
It's about double the size of what you see on the original plan. Let's see what this one is doing.
Next up, the delectably sticky frosting.
For the glaze to glaze over, it's just coming fresh out of the oven because that creates that drip that goes over the side of the rolls. If it's cold, it just sits on top of it. It doesn't have the glaze effect that you want. The frosting, I think, is unique. I think what makes ours different is we use evaporated milk.
These cinnamon rolls are my favorite because they're not overwhelmingly sweet. This is a good balance. So you've got a nice blend of the cinnamon, the dough, and just a little bit of the frosting.
They're very warm, always fresh. I'm not sure I've been anywhere else that has cinnamon rolls at that size either, so that's pretty, always good. Hey, buddy.
Favorite thing about the cinnamon rolls, you get two of them. That has to be the best part of it, double the trouble.
The best way to eat a cinnamon roll is, I'll say it in the negative, not with a fork. So pick it up, get your hands messy, and your mouth messy, because the frosting will go all over your face.
So I just picked up the cinnamon roll, and you can see the craft of the cinnamon roll itself. Look at that winding circle of cinnamon. I'm just gonna go ahead and take a big bite. Tom said you shouldn't use a fork or knife, so just commit to it. Amazing. This is phenomenal. I feel like I've fulfilled a craving I've had for the past 2 years. I want to say the frosting is probably the best part of this cinnamon roll. I know some may say other things, but I really enjoy the frosting. I think it perfectly complements the cinnamon roll, and it just is so different than other frostings I've had before. If you're done with one, you don't have to wait for another. It's waiting for you right here. It's very fresh, it's soft, it's fluffy, and it has a tiny bit of a crunch on the outside, which is really nice.
This is the premier product, and this is what is our logo. This is what people come for. They come for the food, they take home cinnamon rolls for sure.
And Sather is not only famous for its homemade cinnamon rolls, but also the wholesome and warm hospitality that reverberates throughout the restaurant.
The best thing about Sather's, aside from the cinnamon rolls, is just how much of a kind of community place this really is in the Lakeview neighborhood.
It's tradition, it's comfort food, it's comfort people. It's people that know your name and know your family, and it's very rewarding to see that.
On the more savory side of things is a Caribbean-inspired restaurant in the Chicagoland neighborhood by the name of Garifuna Flava. Its jerk chicken, which is washed, seasoned, grilled, and chopped, has kept customers coming through its doors for 12 years. Named for the Garifuna people of Central America, Garifuna Flava serves dishes from Caribbean, Latin, and indigenous Belizean cuisine, like panades, conch fritters, stewed meat, and oxtail.
I tell people all the time that Garifuna Flava is the best Caribbean restaurant in Chicago. Anytime we're feeling, homesick or we just need to eat good Caribbean food, that's our good place.
I love Garifuna for 100 reasons, and jerk chicken is very close to the top.
We noticed years ago that jerk chicken was getting popular in the city. I usually cut up a nice fresh onion to season up my jerk chicken.
Leaving the onion slices aside, Chef Rodi Castillo begins the process of seasoning the chicken, which will then marinate overnight. The dry seasoning for the chicken contains black pepper, garlic, onions, and Caesar salt, and is a mix unique to Garifuna Flava.
This is how we've mixed it. I don't know how the other folks do theirs, but this is what has worked for us for the past 12 years.
Rodi pours about 2 pounds of the dry seasoning over the chicken. This specific mix took years of trial and error to perfect.
Spread it over. Then we have the jerk seasoning.
Rodi puts about half of the container, which amounts to 16 ounces of jerk seasoning, onto the chicken. Jamaican jerk is a versatile spice blend that adds heat, dimension, and complexity to the dish. Then come the habanero peppers.
Habanero peppers gives you the spice you need. Some people just cut them up and then dash them in there. What I do is I crush them, ground them, kind of not into fine pieces, but small particles. But the amount we use for this batch does not kick it over the top. So people who don't like too much spice can manage this chicken.
Jerk seasoning is multifaceted in that way. It is not supposed to have just one dominant note. You're supposed to taste all those things in harmony.
It had that true Caribbean feel and taste, but just a little different zing on it, where it's not super, super hot, but it's flavorful.
And that's exactly what Rodi is trying to achieve. By spreading 16 ounces of the grounded habanero peppers over the chicken and mixing it all together with the dry rub and jerk seasoning, he's bringing out a complexity of flavors.
More flavor. Onions add more flavor. After this, we refrigerate it and it will be ready to be cooked in the morning.
As one of the only Belizean restaurants in the Midwest, and with only about 500,000 Garifuna people left in the world, Rodi and his son Hossein hope that with their jerk chicken and Caribbean dishes, they can help keep Belizean culture alive.
So when people come here and look around, they see images of Garifuna culture. We, as some of the stewards of our culture, have to keep transmitting in any which way the different aspects of our culture. That's critical to our survival.
On a daily basis, Garifuna Flava can go through an upwards of 120 pounds of jerk chicken. To cook the chicken, the Castillos use an open charcoal grill.
Pretty soon you're going to see the smoke starting to give you taste. So this has been seasoned for a couple of days now, so the season has permeated it, which will give you the flavor.
Because the pieces of chicken are about 2 pounds each, Castillo says the entire cooking process lasts about an hour. After 15 to 20 minutes, he flips the chicken.
So when we flip it over, we do the same thing. Keep checking it. One, the weight tells you something, and the color tells you something.
Did you say weight?
Yes. Right now, this is very heavy. When it starts to change in terms of the cooking process, it decreases in weight. And so there's a certain weight I look for to determine whether it's done. So even if it doesn't have that golden brown color, I can literally pick it up and tell you this is done because of the difference in the weight.
Not only are color and weight factors in cooking their famous jerk chicken, the distance from the fire is extremely important.
If the chicken is too close to the fire, the cooking is premature, meaning it gets brown quicker. They may have the color on the outside, but not necessarily cook all the way on the inside. When it's higher, you tend to get a better, wholesome cooking process. Other people tend to do jerk chicken on gas grill. Our choice has always been to use charcoal. The different kinds of charcoal gives the food an additional flavor to it. We're almost done, and about to take some of these off because they're pretty much ready to go. Nice chocolate color, nice and moist. The thing is that not too many people know how to do this.
Yeah.
A lot of people dabble in barbecues, but as far as jerk chicken is concerned, there's a special flavor to jerk.
Why we don't typically order jerk chicken from lots of restaurants here in the state is because I feel like they use the chicken as a vehicle for the jerk seasoning, right? They put jerk seasoning on top of the chicken. They don't season the chicken with jerk seasoning. Right. Garifuna's jerk chicken, you are tasting chicken that is seasoned with jerk seasoning. So it is good down to the bone.
Garifuna Flava's jerk chicken is served with rice, beans, and fried plantains, but it can also be eaten with coconut rice, steamed cabbages, and canned yams. The gravy that accompanies the rice is made from chicken mixed with spices, and the jerk sauce comes from the same seasoning that makes the jerk chicken.
It's spiced right, it's very, very moist, and it's not super, super hot. Sometimes I think the association with the jerk seasoning, that it has to be so hot. And sometimes it's a hard balance to be able to get that spice and not add too much salt.
There's a lot of meat on the bones, you know, it's like a really juicy chicken, and there's that really nice, like smoky, spicy flavor to it. I love mine with the extra jerk sauce. I really like the spice, and it just feels like a home-cooked meal.
Jerk chicken is hard to cook. It's not easy, you know? Like, you guys see how hot it is in there, and yeah, I'm still amazed that he could just go in that heat every day and make it work. It's not easy at all. You're literally in the fire for hours. It's a solid 9.5 out of 10 today. Great job. It's succulent, it's got the flavor, it's got the little spice. You can dip it in the jerk sauce to add a little extra heat.
But it's not just the food that keeps customers coming through. It's the Castillo family's knack for hospitality.
There's this stereotype, like if they act like they don't care about you at all, the food is gonna be so good, right? Garifuna Flava. The opposite of that in terms of culture. They're so accommodating. They consistently taste good.
Right. Your experience when you go there is going to provide you with high quality food that comes from a loving heart, from a man who really wants to share what is Belize, what is the culture, who are the Garifuna people, how do they cook and eat This is the reason why they cook.
In the world of food, a serendipitous fusion of two foods can catapult a restaurant's popularity. And that's exactly what happened to the popular fast food chain called Portillo's when it combined its chocolate cake with its chocolate shake. Portillo's is known across the country for its savory hot dogs and crispy French fries. But most Chicagoans know that Portillo's best-kept secret is its cake shake.
It's a shake, and it's Portillo's chocolate cake at once. It's amazing. It's an evil idea. I don't know who came up with it.
Thumbs up. Love it.
The Portillo's location here in Summit, Illinois is known as the chain's sweetest suburb.
In this location, depending on the day, we're going to go through anywhere from 60 to 200 of these a day, probably. On the weekends, we sometimes make over 100 cakes on a Saturday morning.
That's Kara Crones. She's been with Portillo's for 9 years and has been making the cakes and cake shakes ever since she started working here.
It's extremely chocolatey and decadent. It's very moist.
Very delicious.
People are still shocked when you tell them, hey, we bake these on site fresh.
The cake mix starts with its dry ingredients: baking cocoa flour, baking powder, and baking soda. There's always been this rumor that Portillo's cake has mayo in it to make it so moist.
I ain't no culinary expert, but I heard mayo is a big thing on that.
Can you dispel those rumors if it isn't true?
I can't tell you what the secret ingredient is.
Okay.
Someone might kill me. No, I'm just kidding.
The real secret is in the mixing. Portillo's mixes the batter at 3 different rates: low, medium, and then high. This is to incorporate deep pockets of air into the mixture to give it that famous fluffy texture.
When it gets towards the end, you kind of get the start of that smell of chocolate cake. You're like, oh, it's almost done. It's Portillo's chocolate cake time. You got to check on it towards the end, about 28 to 29 minutes, because nobody wants overcooked chocolate cake. So when the cakes come out of the oven, we've got to pop them out of the pan so they can finish their cooling so they don't overcook in there. So we're going to just give it a good hearty tap on the side, and then we're going to flip it into our hand, and then we're going to take it and we're going to put it on this cooling rack here, and then we can frost it because we don't want melty frosting.
The frosting that goes on a Portillo's chocolate cake is not homemade and is in fact just your traditional classic fudge frosting.
So we're going to first put a tiny little dot on the bottom to help the cake stick. And then we're going to flip it upside down so that the finished product has a more even look and so the 2 pieces stick together. So we're almost making a hamburger out of the cake. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our first pound of frosting and we're going to spread it out as evenly as we can.
And did you say pound of frosting?
I did.
Okay, so there's 2 pounds of frosting.
2 pounds of frosting on every Portillo's chocolate cake.
Wow.
And then we're going to take our second pound of frosting and we're going to put it on top and wrap it around all the sides. But we're not really going for perfection, we're going for homemade.
I'm not into sweets, but this is good.
This is very good. All along that I've been going to Portillo's, I usually get a piece of chocolate cake.
So you have to eat beef?
Yeah.
And beer and cake. In that order, though. It's good. I like it.
Yes.
Their frosting really does it. Some cakes it's just kind of like too whippy or something. And it's just
I'm not a big fan of like the whipped cream, so the frosting kind of does it. And just the cake itself,
it's super moist.
It's moist and spongy.
Who do you want? Your lunch is done. Thank you. It hits the spot every time. I remember as a kid, at all of our family parties, we would have Portillo's cake. The cake itself isn't as overwhelmingly sweet as you would think it would be based on what we saw in the kitchen. It's like, again, a subtle taste of chocolate, and the frosting is really what adds the sweetness to it. There's enough frosting to last you the entire cake. This is literally the perfect guilty pleasure for anyone wanting to eat their feelings. This is it. But you can't just eat Portillo's chocolate cake. You gotta try their cake shake. According to Kara, back when Portillo's started making Gina Portillo's cake recipe, they could only serve them the day they were made, because that's about how long they stayed fresh for. So a manager by the name of Dale Phillips thought it would be a great idea to utilize the leftovers.
They started putting pieces of cake into a cake shake, and they started selling it, and it's been a success ever since. We're gonna grab our cup. We're gonna give it a tiny little bit of shake mix in the bottom.
And what is that shake mix?
Vanilla ice cream, pretty much. We're gonna take our whole piece of cake.
The entire piece?
An entire piece of cake.
That's amazing.
We're gonna put it all in this cup with this little bit of vanilla ice cream.
Okay.
The moment people find out that we put a piece of cake in a shake, their mind is blown.
My mind was blown today. I'm from Chicago, and I feel like a lot of people don't even know that Portillo's has a cake shake.
No, they don't.
And I only equate the cake shake to Portillo's.
So the whole thing is gonna go in. We're gonna make sure they get all their delicious frosting.
This is why I love Chicago.
Then we're gonna even add some of our chocolate syrup in there. So it's chocolate on chocolate. We're gonna add a little more shake mix.
All right.
A little bit on the bottom so the cake doesn't get stuck in the bottom and then you just get big chunks. And then a little bit more, and then we're gonna mix. It's gonna break up some of the chunks of that piece of cake that's in there so you can actually drink it through a straw or with your spoon on the side. You wanna be able to have somebody drink this in their car when they're leaving the drive-thru. You want a little bit of thick chunks in there just for a bite, but not a lot. And then we're gonna put a little more on to top it off.
Okay.
And then we're gonna mix. And voila, chocolate cake shake.
It's chewy, it's good.
It's good.
It's good. Now I don't know.
I like it when you get the chunks in there, and especially if it's like the chunks of frosting. Oh.
Yeah, the chunks just gotta suck extra hard.
The rumors are true. They do indeed put an entire cake slice into the cake shake, which is amazing. And the best part of the cake shake, for me at least, is that each sip comes with bits and chunks of the chocolate cake itself. So it really feels like you're drinking an entire cake slice. I know that sounds like a lot to some people, but it's so yummy, it's so tasty, and I recommend it 100%. The best thing that complements the cake shake at Portillo's are the fries. You literally dip the fries in your cake shake, and you take a bite, and you get the perfect combination of sweet and savory. You get the crunch of the fry, and the soft mushiness of the cake shake itself. So good. Portillo's for me, as a kid, was always comfort food. It was always, something that reminded me of home, and a place where I could come with all my friends, whether I was in high school, whether I was in college. There was just so much variety, but also the food was just always good. Especially the cake shake, and the fries. These three might not be on the iconic 5 list of Portillo's, but to me, they're the famous 3. From a fast food chain on Summit Avenue to the local community of Fullerton Avenue, we found that some of the best Chicago food was invented right here by people wishing to merge their cultural identities. Fresh plantains, fried, smashed, and fried again to crispy perfection, topped with lettuce, tomatoes, and thinly sliced marinated steak that melts in your mouth. Finished with American cheese and a heaping spoonful of garlic. It's the way this tender steak and fresh ingredients are sandwiched between crunchy plantains that makes the Jibarito a legend in Chicago. The Jibarito is a Puerto Rican-inspired sandwich, but it was created here in Chicago, which is home to one of the largest populations of Puerto Ricans in the mainland US. Throughout the city, you'll find plenty of restaurants serving Jibaritos, but the local favorite is Jibaritos y Más.
Un día regular se pueden preparar cerca de 200, 250 jibaritos. Un fin de semana se preparan entre 350, quizás un poquito más, jibaritos en un día. Lo importante es que no se vaya sin comer.
It's delicious, it's crunchy, it has a lot of flavor. I love it. You can find Puerto Rican restaurants up and down Fullerton, but like my favorite is Jibaritos y Más.
This is one of the best sandwiches I've ever had in my life.
Es un sándwich, pero no como un sándwich tradicional, como todos los sándwiches vienen con pan. El jibarito es algo fuera de lo común que se hace con plátano y la textura es muy diferente. Una explosión de sabores puertorriqueños que te llegan que tú sientes en tu boca esa explosión de sabores.
Jibaritos y Más offers several versions of its jibarito, like pork or shrimp, but the most popular version is the steak jibarito.
Tú puedes hacer el jibarito, tú lo puedes hacer de lo que se te ocurra. De lo que se te ocurra, que con lo que tú le pongas te va a quedar exquisito.
To start off, the meat is stewed for 30 minutes in a mixture of garlic, onion, adobo, and seasoning.
La mayoría de la comida puertorriqueña se prepara con el adobo, el sazón, el sofrito.
Una manera, es un secreto.
Algo así, es un secreto, exactamente, es un secreto. Es bien blandito y no necesita de mucha cocción. Para la hora de cocinarlo, que tú lo vayas a morder, la carne quede bien, se te deshaga en la boca.
¿Qué sabor le da a la carne?
¿Qué sabor le da? Le da un sabor entre, quizás un poco, queda bien tender, queda bien jugosa y le da un sabor entre, quizás un poquito por el vinagre, un poquito de acidito por el vinagre, el salado del adobo. Queda un sabor, una combinación de sabores.
Next comes the plantains.
Generalmente el jibarito es de plátano verde, es más fácil de manejar. Ponerle un poquito en agua caliente para que no esté tan difícil para pelarlo. Después de esto, y lo cortamos. Porque esto, para ponerlo más fino y que la textura quede bien crispy.
The plantains are fried for 7 minutes, pressed into a flat sheet, then fried again in order to achieve that crispy texture.
Sale así. Para el plátano solamente aceite para freírlo, es lo único que necesitas.
After frying the plantains, it's time to assemble the jibarito.
Ponemos mayonesa, cantidad de lechuga, tomate y viene el principal.
The next layer is your meat of choice, an American cheese. Finally, the jibarito is topped with a large spoonful of garlic.
El ajo es ese sabor que lo distingue, que el sabor sale encima de todos los demás ingredientes, el ajo es el sabor que sobresale.
Y muchas personas piensan que el jibarito es como el patacón de los venezolanos.
Es lo mismo, es el mismo patacón de los venezolanos.
¿Es mismo o ya hay una diferencia?
La diferencia es que el patacón le pone muchos más ingredientes. Le pone...
¿Y qué es su favorita?
A mí
¿El patacón o el jibarito?
El jibarito. Definitivamente el jibarito de bistec es mi favorito. Cuando juntas las dos culturas, nos damos cuenta de que la comida es bastante similar, es bastante parecida.
I go for the steak always. I mean, like I said, I tried the pork. I love it. But for me, it's the steak.
It's got great taste. You can smell it down the block. So.
And is this your favorite spot for Jibarito?
Yeah, because it's right down the street from my house.
Jibaritos y Más makes all types of jibaritos. The one that I have today is the shrimp jibarito. The first thing I immediately smell is the garlic. Here I go. It's gonna get messy. This is fantastic. That's magnificent. So good. Twice frying the plantain really does make this crunchy and crispy and exactly what you would want. And also the garlic that really hits you with all that flavor. For me, I love that there's a variation in different textures. There's a crunch of the plantain. There's the soft, supple shrimp in between. And then you have the crunch of the lettuce, the cheese that's melting just right. Yalitza's passion for the jibarito started 20 years ago, when she first arrived in the US and started working in local Puerto Rican restaurants.
Yo soy venezolana, yo nací en Venezuela, pero mi corazón está dividido en dos. Mi corazón es mitad venezolano y mitad puertorriqueño. Desde que yo llegué a este país, mi primer trabajo fue en una cocina, un restaurante de comida puertorriqueña y me encantó. Me encantó el proceso, me encantó la comida. Cada vez que yo llegaba, para ir a mi trabajo todos los días, pasaba por aquí mismo, por la esquina, el restaurante que está aquí en la esquina. Y en mi pensamiento yo decía, algún día esa esquina va a ser mía, algún día esa esquina va a ser mía. Se me dio la oportunidad de hacerlo y me decidí y aquí estamos Jibaritos y Más. Muchos de nuestros clientes desde que tienen 30 años que se vienen aquí a Chicago, los Estados Unidos, nunca han podido regresar a Puerto Rico. Entonces lo que tratamos es de darles un poquito de lo que está allá, tratar de traérselos acá y para que se sientan familiarizados con la comida, con lo que es la cultura puertorriqueña. Eso es lo que tratamos de hacer.
Just a 5-minute drive from Jibaritos y Más stands a quaint pie shop beloved by the Logan Square community. It's called Bang Bang Pie. Key lime, triple berry, and chocolate graham cracker are just some of the hundreds of flavors made from scratch at Bang Bang Pie and Biscuits in Chicago.
I've heard they're some of the best pies in Chicago.
I don't think it gets any better than biscuits and pie.
Bang Bang Pie has been serving comfort food to the Logan Square neighborhood for 8 years and has gained a local reputation for its delicious food and warm hospitality. Even during the pandemic, it often has a line stretching around the block.
I actually just moved into the area. This is one of the first places that I went to because it is adorable, and also I just tried the pie once and it was delicious.
Having a focus on pie and biscuits, it's kind of like guests come here happy.
The starting point of Bang Bang's famous pies is the crust.
The crust should contribute something. It's got to be the perfect balance of flaky and tender. You can actually see the pieces of butter in here, and when that bakes, the butter is going to melt, and the steam that comes out of it is going to give it a little rise, and that's going to be a flake. You want it sitting like right on the lip of the tin so it doesn't fall over or shrink in when it bakes. So you want to just be as gentle as you can so it doesn't get stretched out at all.
Besides its carefully constructed pastry crust, Bang Bang is best known for its graham cracker crust.
Their graham cracker crust is amazing. I usually prefer pastry, but I prefer their graham cracker.
We make our own graham crackers in-house. We just add enough butter that you can get it to stick together. You just want a clump like that. We use a lot of cinnamon in ours, so it has like a really distinct smell and taste.
One of these bowls makes about 24 pie crusts. In total, Bang Bang makes a couple of 100 crusts each week.
It's extraordinarily laborious to do what we do, but I do think it makes a difference. By the time you get it, it's been baked 3 times. It's going to have a more complex, caramelized nature. That's what makes ours really shine.
Bang Bang rotates its pies every week and is constantly trying new flavors, like root beer float and s'more. But a couple of fan favorites always stick around.
Key lime pie would be considered our classic that has not left the menu in probably 8 years. We always do a chocolate pie, a fruit pie always, and then either a custard or a wild card.
I've never tried the summer pie before. That's what I got today. It sounds really good. Their key lime is the best key lime ever.
It's a really simple recipe actually, but it's one of our most popular. It is just sweetened condensed milk, egg yolks, key lime juice, and lime zest, and that's it.
Key lime's my favorite pie in general, and theirs is delicious.
What really makes it shine is the contrast of the sweet, the tart, the perfect balance, coupled with that house-made graham cracker crust.
Another customer favorite is chocolate caramel, which Michael describes as a light but rich brownie filling in a chocolate cookie crust.
That's kind of like a layup, you know, it pleases everyone.
But for some people, pie really means fruit pie.
Something about fruit pies I love, both making and eating. There's like really no room to hide when the flavor profile is fruit.
Buying good berries in season is half the battle. We primarily partner with McClug Family Farm in St. Joseph, Michigan, about 60 miles away. It's important, you know, primarily to support Midwestern farmers, but also because the product tastes better. It is really fun when you get a delivery from Klug that like they drop them off and you pop a blackberry or strawberry and it's like the best blackberry strawberry you've ever had. Well, right then and there, we have to do very little to continue on that flavor.
I think it's just like a good Midwestern dessert. There's nothing overly pretentious about pie. It just like is very upfront about what it is. It's delicious.
I think pie just tastes like home. The food's delicious, but every time we go there, it just feels kind of like an extension of our home.
I grew up making pies, so I've been like indoctrinated my entire life. I was considering what I wanted to do with my life and getting really stressed out and stress baking about it. And then I realized I could get paid to bake and I wouldn't be stressed out all the time. So I got a job at a pie shop in Atlanta and I have not looked back.
We asked Michael to try some of Bang Bang's current pie selections and tell us which is his current favorite.
So this is our key lime pie. I haven't had it in a while, but it's as good as I remember. The perfect balance of sweet, tart, acidic, creamy. This is another one of our classics. It's chocolate chess. It's the darkest, richest, lightest chocolate brownie you could ever imagine, topped with the salted caramel. This one is in a chocolate cookie crust. Totally different than the key lime. It is really good. This is triple berry. It's in our house pastry crust, which is an all butter crust, crumble top. We call it lemon sparkle. It has a little bit of lemon zest in there. It just really highlights the fruit flavors. Take a big bite.
The combination of berries I prefer than an all fruit pie. It gives different complexities, but you still can taste each individual fruit. That particular bite had some really tart components of the red raspberry, kind of like wrapped around a fresh berry, a blueberry that popped in my mouth. And then the bottom still has a really beautiful crispness.
And finally, coconut passion fruit.
So again, this is the 4th different crust that we've experienced today. We had the graham cracker, we had the chocolate cookie, we had the pastry crust, and this is a toasted coconut. Hit it with a little whipped cream, more toasted coconut on top, and then just for a little glam and kind of summer pizzazz, we put a passion fruit curd. It's a classic coconut with a twist. It's perfect for summertime days. The passion fruit comes through very, very well. And again, it takes that kind of like classic coconut cream and really elevates it. If you're forcing me to choose a favorite at this moment, I would have to skew towards the chocolate caramel. It's moist on the inside, the texture is exquisite, but that's what's so great. You know, I mean, they all balance off each other. There's a time and a place for each one.
But food isn't the only thing that keeps people coming back to Bang Bang. Over the years, Michael has put just as much focus on hospitality.
I come back because it's always creative menu and the people are so wonderful.
My background is on a fine dining level. I always thought that to have a career in the restaurant industry, you kind of needed to be at the best of the best. And at that time in my life, that was, you know, considered working at Gramercy Tavern in New York City. But as I traveled and saw spaces that I would seek out in cities, I realized that I really wanted to have more of a neighborhood place. I'd rather see people, you know, multiple days a week than just once a year for a special occasion.
Everyone that works here is amazing. They're super nice and accommodating.
Michael, the owner, is amazing. He's one of the friendliest people we know.
My customers and friends express surprise when they see myself working the register or like bussing tables. Why are you doing that? Is someone, you know, out sick or things like that? But to me, that's like why I got into business, is to take care of people, and no matter how busy we are, I don't want to lose that like aspect of it.
This same work ethic can be seen closer to the city at a deli that serves food that is synonymous with delectable, delicious comfort. Manny's Cafeteria and Delicatessen has kept locals coming back ever since it first opened its doors way back in 1942. Its mountainous corned beef sandwich is one of the tastiest to eat in all of Chicago.
Excellent corned beef. Okay, it's the best thing that Chicago has. You know, is Manny's corned beef.
It's the best corned beef to me in Chicago. You can go other places, it's never going to be like Manny.
I moved to North Carolina. As soon as I come home, I have to come here.
Manny's is a Jewish deli, similar to Katz's in New York City or Langer's in LA.
It's basically Eastern European food, comfort foods. Usually very large portions, really good quality, homemade. We have great hot entrees, but we're also really known for corned beef pastrami sandwiches.
That's Dan Raskin. After immigrating to the US, his great-grandfather Jack and Jack's brother Charlie purchased a restaurant called Sonny's in 1942. They changed the name to Manny's after Jack's son Emmanuel. The restaurant has been handed down through the family, making Dan the 4th-generation Raskin to own and operate it.
We've always been known for like Jewish deli that basically started really in the United States with the immigration of people in the early 1900s.
The origins of the Jewish deli trace back to the kosher butcher shops that appeared in Jewish communities like New York's Lower East Side in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Pickled meats, beans, and soup began to appear in some butcher shops, with a few even adding tables. Jewish immigrants were under a lot of pressure to assimilate into American culture by toning down the flavor and spices in their home-cooked meals. The Jewish deli became a haven, not just to acquire food that was bursting with flavor, but also as a way to participate in American society while maintaining Jewish identity.
Traditionally, back in the day, everybody ate one big meal every day, and it was usually lunch. It wasn't dinner. It was always important to be fed in the Jewish culture. We quickly became known for our large corned beef and pastrami sandwiches that were not only large, but really good quality meat, and they've been our #1 seller since.
Okay, so what is the next step after all this comes down?
Grab the rye bread,
Grab the rye bread.
then you put 9 ounces.
Oh, it's so warm and soft. That's 7. Okay, a little more.
Then we have a bigger one that's 3/4 of a pound.
That's a lot of meat.
That's a lot of meat.
And so it's literally just a meat sandwich.
and we usually ask them if they like a latke, and that's our sandwich.
The size of Manny's towering corned beef sandwich became so renowned throughout Chicago that pre-COVID, Manny's was going through 1,000 pounds of corned beef every day. The sandwich is made with 9 ounces of brisket, pickled with garlic and other seasonings, thinly sliced and piled high in between 2 slices of fresh rye bread. It's meant to be topped with horseradish mustard, but it's up to you whether to add just a dollop or spread it everywhere.
The way we slice it and the way it's cooked is to make it so it really melts in your mouth, but we also don't put any additives in there. So there's no soy or baking soda or other items in the meat to add fillers, which is very common in deli meats. It's steamed in an oven, and then we boil it to get back to temperature right before it's served.
I mean, there isn't one bad item on the whole menu here. I don't care what you eat here, it's delicious.
The sandwich helped make Manny's a Chicago institution and a must for politicians, actors, and tourists visiting from out of town.
I'm 72 years old. Our dad first took us here when I was around 8 years old. My brother was 11 years old, and we've been coming back here ever since.
So how long have you been working here?
38 years.
38?
Yeah. Well, I've been coming here about 30 years.
Coming from a long line of Jews, it feels great to have Jewish cooking again.
Manny's has been known as a melting place of all the different cultures of Chicago coming together. We're just keeping the tradition going.
Dan grabbed us a couple of trays so we could try this giant sandwich. That looks amazing. That's good. That was worth the wait. I can see why people want more meat because it looks like a lot, but it kind of melts in your mouth, like you said. And so when you take a bite, it doesn't feel as big as it looks. And I know people are gonna be like, no, how is this light? I'm telling you, the bread itself is very fluffy, very soft. It's juicy. When you eat it hot, especially, it melts in your mouth. The mustard definitely adds tanginess to it. Yeah. But very juicy meat, very juicy meat. But it's not just the meat that keeps people coming. When Manny's Deli began to feel the impact of the halt to indoor dining due to the pandemic, Dan put out a call on social media. And in a day, lines of people came to their doors to show their support.
This is truly amazing. We really appreciate the support the last few days, and hopefully you guys keep coming.
A few weeks ago, we reached out to people and let them know that, hey, our business is really hurting and we need you. Not that the business is about to go out of business right now, but that we don't want to lay off staff. We want to keep everybody working and we need your support, and it was huge. For over 2 weeks, we had line around the corner from the restaurant. We still have a lot of that support. It's obviously not as big as it was, but we're looking to keep the momentum going, and anything we can do to draw more people in is really it's survival right now.
As soon as we heard that Manny's might be closing, we decided to come that next day, and it was packed. So we were happy to see that because we enjoy eating here.
Just like Manny's Deli, this one spot in Lincoln Park has people waiting hours in line to get their hands on the myriad of French toast flavors. Batter & Berry's French toast flavors include blueberry, lemon, and caramel, along with weekly special flavors like peach cobbler, Oreo, and banana pudding.
So we decided to go with French toast because we felt like we could do a lot more different flavors, a lot different more varieties with the French toast than what you could probably do with a pancake or a waffle.
We stepped inside the kitchen with Chef Ken Polk, who showed us how he makes some of the signature flavors. All right, Chef, what are we gonna start with today?
All right, so we're gonna start off with our caramel toast. We use brioche bread. Nobody else gets this cut. It's strictly cut just for us from Toronto.
How do you make your French toast differently than other restaurants?
In this caramel one, we actually use real caramel. The caramel is actually in the batter. And then my spice mix goes in.
What maybe besides cinnamon is in that spice mix?
Then I would tell you the secret.
Can I guess nutmeg?
So the basics are cinnamon and nutmeg.
Okay.
After that, I can't tell you anything else.
What are we trying to taste?
So what you're gonna taste is, you're gonna taste depth and vibrant. So it's gonna go deep and it's gonna be very, very bright. There are a lot of people who don't like French toast, but they love ours because the texture is so buttery. Most French toasts are very egg-based, so it's a lot more egg, where ours is a lot more fat-based. people like that. What makes it a little special, obviously, is the amount of caramel that we put in it. The different caramel that goes on the toast. We put a dulce de leche.
A lot of customers said that this one is their favorite. I'm gonna give it a go. So you can 100% taste the spice mix, but the best part of the caramel French toast is the crunch that comes from the caramelized pecans. And let me talk about the bread for a second. The bread here is brioche bread, and it's super light and super fluffy. I don't think I've had French toast this fluffy, but at the same time so filling. It's not soggy like a lot of French toasts I've eaten in the past. It's really, really well done. If you're into like chocolate chip pancakes and you like that kind of route for your brunch, I would go with the caramel French toast. But the surprise choosing of the day was the lemon.
The lemon one's gonna have a little bit of sumac in it, which most people don't know.
Usually I never imagined sumac would be in French toast.
It's a tart spice. So I decided to put sumac in because it goes really, really well with citrus things. It makes citrus things taste more citrusy. Lemon zest, we use lemon juice, we use lemon extract, we use a lot of lemon. And you need enough lemon to cut through all of the cream.
I don't know, I'm like not a fan of those like acidic French, like the tarty ones, but I'm excited to try yours to see if I like it.
Tell you what it's gonna taste like. You ever had lemon cream pie?
Yes.
It's almost gonna have the texture of a lemon curd almost.
Ah.
Right? And here's another trick for this one. It's turmeric.
Turmeric?
We don't use any artificial flavorings or whatever around here. So turmeric is a way for me to make the lemon look lemony.
The lemon look lemony, so it adds color.
So it adds color.
Okay.
It's when the heat hits this, it's gonna brighten up and get really bright.
You really got this too.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
borderline mad scientist. All right, the last thing this needs.
Yes, salt.
Salt. Now, I added in all the batters, believe it or not.
Wow. You just get hit with a punch of lemon. Lemon French toast for sure is something that I didn't expect to like, and I really like it. I think it has the most depth and flavor. The pecans with the lemon flavored French toast adds kind of like a smokiness to it. You don't need any sauce, you don't need any syrup. You can just eat this on its own.
On to the blueberries!
All right, now
I need to get another little.
I see all these spices already. Ginger, coriander,
What's up, Dex?
whole anise, and what's the last one?
Clove.
And these are all going into the blueberry batter.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never expected whole anise and coriander and ginger.
Believe it or not, to make the blueberries more blueberry. So the whole trick for me is to get things natural complement so that they pop more. And so the flavors of the blueberries can change from season to season, like we said, but we use them all year long. So what I try to add with the spices is a little consistency to kind of mellow out the acidity of the blueberries, the acidity and the sweetness of them, and I do that with spices. So the spice level kind of stays the same when the blueberries go a little crazy, so it kind of evens it out. I'm adding lemon to the blueberry.
And why is that?
Tart.
Tart.
Secret, for lack of better words, to this batter.
The lemon?
The lemon.
Wow. It's like a punch of flavor. It's so tasty. I love that they put fresh berries on top because not only do you taste the blueberry in the batter and in the toast itself, but you get literally a burst of blueberry flavor in your mouth as soon as you take a bite. And the sauce is also really, really good. It pairs so well with the toast. But Ken's favorite are the specials. With a new flavor every week, Batter and Berries has made over 200 variations.
I like the specials. They're whimsical, they're seasonal, and cultural. Like this week we're doing Super Donut. Last week we did lunchroom butter cookie. This is a Chicago Public Schools lunchroom favorite back when I was growing up. So this is one of those back to school flavors.
It's the legit Super Donut. I wonder what he's gonna do with it. I have a feeling you're gonna crush it, put it in the batter.
Yep.
And add your spice mix and potentially a special ingredient that'll throw me off again.
So here's a trick for this one. It gets a hit of caramel. And whip it. Whip it good.
The last one we have today is the Super Donut French Toast. that tastes like fall. A very strong taste of cinnamon. It has a different texture than the others because in the batter, there's bits and pieces of donuts. So you actually taste a very strong sense of a donut as well.
Whatever flavor that is, it's in the bread. It's not just in the topping, it's not just in the butter, it's in the bread.
Since Batter & Berries opened, customers say the French toast is worth the wait.
I actually waited like an hour or two before on this food.
We thought there was going to be a waiting list today, but we looked up and there was really no waiting list. We heard, so I was like checking Yelp, trying to see if we can get on the waiting list.
This is a long drive for me, but I have to come here at least once a month.
I work in this neighborhood all the time. So I noticed the lines and I just said, I gotta go check it out. I gotta go check out the food store.
Batter & Berries was founded by husband and wife Craig and Tanya Richardson in 2012 in Lincoln Park, a well-known hub for brunch spots in Chicago.
Obviously, we have our locals who are living around Lincoln Park, but we also have a big following from the south side of Chicago, from the west side, all around the suburbs that are just here on a daily basis.
Because of its success, Batter & Berries has been featured on PBS and Chicago's Best. And in more recent days, the restaurant has been in the news as a must-try Black-owned restaurant in Chicago.
You know, we're a Black-owned restaurant in Lincoln Park, which is, not known for having a lot of Black-owned business. So it's been a little bit of a challenge, but it's also been very rewarding because a lot of folks will come here and feel inspired.
Craig and Tanya wanted to create a world-class breakfast and brunch restaurant that set itself apart and could attract people from not only Chicago, but surrounding states in the Midwest. And the way they sought to do that was to specialize in French toast.
I don't know if I expected it to happen, but my wife always knew it would happen. One day, we were eating breakfast, and she looked at me and she said, "Do you think you ever want to open a breakfast restaurant?" She always had that vision. She said people are going to be waiting an hour and a half, 2 hours to eat there. That vision came true.
Our final stop is a trip back to the suburbs. Here in Elmwood Park, we got a behind-the-scenes look at a sandwich that is well known across the country, the classic Italian beef. There are plenty of spots to get an Italian beef in Chicago, but Johnnie's in Elmwood Park is full of customers lining up to get their hands on its juicy sandwich as soon as the doors open at 11.
I've been here since high school. Yeah. The flavor of Johnnie's beef is different than anywhere else.
Been in the neighborhood almost 30 years, and I love their beef, and it's #1 beef in town.
Ain't no other beef in the world better than Johnnie's.
There are a few ways to order your beef from Johnnie's. If you ask for juicy, the entire sandwich gets dipped into a container of beefy juices, making the bread soaking wet. If you ask for dry, then no gravy. If you opt for dipped, then your meat is lightly drenched in the juice.
They dip the bun in the juice, make it even soggier.
Probably need to take a shower after this. This is awesome.
I like it juicy and everything. Good flavor and everything. Good.
Johnnie's beef starts off with roasting 300 pounds of a lean and tough cut of beef, either top or round sirloin, to simultaneously marinate the beef and make its famous juice. A special spice mix is poured into the large vat of meat.
It's a pretty simple process. Adding the seasoning to the meat, it's just going to cook down.
And what's in the spices?
That's a secret.
You can't tell us?
No one knows this, but 3 people maybe.
I see a bit of oregano.
That's it.
And hot pepper.
Some things you can't, they're better left unsaid. So now we're just going to add water to it, and it'll start cooking.
And who created the spice mix?
Johnnie. Came from his mother-in-law way back in the day.
And then your son-in-law said the recipe's under lock and key. Forever.
So that's secret. Can't tell you. Lock and key.
Yeah, they won't give nobody the seasoning.
Well, that I can't disclose. It's in a lock and key in a vault somewhere. That's a secret.
Oh, so none of the employees season?
Absolutely not.
They will never do that. They don't want nobody to know their flavor.
That's how secretive it is. Just the process is more important than anything else. Every day the same way, and we're ready to go.
The meat cooks in the gravy for a few hours until it's tender and well seasoned. It's cooled off in the fridge overnight to ensure easy slicing. The next morning, staff trim off the fat and bring over the slabs to an automatic slicer.
Meat is sliced very thin, as you can see, very thin. You don't want to go too thick. Okay, it's not a steak, it's a beef sandwich. You want thin, very thin meat that you can almost see through.
Once a pan is filled to the brim with paper-thin slices of beef, it's either refrigerated or sent out to the front for assembly.
There's 15 pounds in each pan. We cut 10, 12, 15 pans, depending. You know, the weekend gets even busier.
The assembly of the sandwich starts off with French bread that's specially made for Johnnie's from Toronto Bakery, a local bread company in Chicago. It is long, narrow in shape, and has a thin crust.
French bread holds our juice very well with the sandwich, with the peppers, doesn't make it fall apart. That is the authentic way of making an Italian beef. Without good bread, what's inside is nothing. This is just an Italian beef sandwich, Johnnie style. Spoon of gravy, sweet peppers, right there.
And what is the juice made out of?
Can't tell you.
No?
No, secret seasoning.
And then sweet peppers, that's the usual.
That's our usual.
What
yep.
about hot peppers? The
Hot peppers, giardiniera right here. Gives it a lot of more flavor. I mean, the seasoning enough is spicy. That just makes it even better. We have our own recipe that somebody makes for us for our giardiniera, but the sweet peppers are made in-house every day.
And if you want juicy, do you dip the entire thing back in there?
Dip the entire thing back in there. Okay, now we're gonna go to juicy beef sweet.
Oh my God, I'm salivating. This is beautiful.
And there you go. There's a juicy beef sweet.
And what do you prefer?
That with hot peppers. Juicy beef sweet and hot peppers. The most common sandwich is a juicy beef with sweet peppers.
It's kind of like the soup kitchen from Seinfeld. You have to be very specific.
Just follow the ordering procedure and you will be fine.
Medium turkey chili.
You know anything about a hot dog stand or a beef stand in Chicago, you don't say the word ketchup.
No, why not?
Because it just doesn't go. They'll give it to you on the side, but you shouldn't be asking for it. It's kind of an unspoken rule.
What about cheese?
Negative. No cheese.
Cheese is not an authentic way of making a beef sandwich. It's gonna hide all the flavor that we have in our juice, and you don't want to do that. People love cheese, but you're not gonna find it at Johnnie's.
Both the juicy and dry varieties of Johnnie's beef have drawn tourists and celebrities into the quaint storefront since 1961. But it's the local community and surrounding neighbors that keep the lines long and the orders coming through.
I can smell it from my backyard, so it's pretty irresistible to come and get it.
The line gets all the way out there on Saturdays and Friday, all the way down the alley.
There's always a line, you know, I don't like waiting in line. This is the only line I'll wait in.
It's an amazing place, it really is. It really is nice to see people come in, see people all the time, regular basis. Their loyalty is nice, it really is.
This is why I miss the Midwest. No one cares about the calorie count. You just taste good food, and you eat good food, and you just eat what makes you happy.